Good morning, loves. I'm Aya Salvatrice. My buddy's name is Einstein. I love connecting things that have wires together, so I've been building synthesizers lately. You've probably seen Euroracks, the modular synthesizers that cost 5 times as much as your car is worth. But my 3D printed synths are much cheaper. The first I made, I call it the CMOS raft because it uses CMOS chips. It's a style of synthesizers we call lunetta that's very suited to beginners. And since I picked up electronics only 2 years ago, I still barely know what I'm doing today. And I call this one the armature. It's open in the back so I can tinker with it easily. I started building it about a year ago. Those panels are 20 centimeters tall with big guitar jacks. It's a format we call KOSMO. It was invented by some guy who does weird stuff to Furbies. Now, there's a bunch of us building those KOSMO modules and trading stuff with each other. I even started a little wiki about those big KOSMO modules. But you know, I cannot travel with the armature. And there is a good chance I will be on the road for a few months this year. So I thought I should make a small suitcase synth too, and I'm gonna make it cheap as I can. Okay, enough rambling, let's get building, gamers. So to even get started with Eurorack, you need a case, and even the empty cases are super expensive, so if you can build your own using cheap junk, it's much more affordable. First, let me show you the suitcase I'm gonna use. It's adorned in the flag of some foreign country. Now, the liner of this case is absolutely filthy, so I have to violently unset it in much the same way the CIA would unset a democratically elected head of state. The makeup box I'm using is made of the lowest quality cardboard that's legal to sell, and it seems to be about the right size for your rack. Next come the mounting rails. Even if you DIY a Eurorack case, the extruded aluminum rails you need to fasten the modules are a big expense, so it'd be a better idea to find a cheap solution for those. I just went with the 3D printed system I already use in my KOSMO armature. It was designed by : 1/128, sorry if I pronounce it wrong. With this system, the screws are held with friction rather than proper threads, so the rails don't have an infinite lifespan, but in my experience they are good enough for those reinsertions and removals. We measure the size of Eurorack synthesizers in HP. It stands for horizontal pitch. Each hole is 1 HP. Both big rails portions have 20 HP, end pieces have 4 HP each, so that's 48 HP per assembly, and my case has 2 assemblies for a total of 96 HP. Each HP is exactly 5.08 mm apart. It might sound like an arbitrary number, but that's because it's actually based on a more accurate American unit of measurement. Each HP is actually 0.00005 football fields apart. Now, as a full 48 HP assembly with a little test module. To power up the modules, I need a power supply and the busboard full of power sockets. Let's start with the latter, the busboard. This is a very basic design I made. If you want one, the files are on my site. You can hire a cheap fabrication house in China to make them for you. It costs me about €7 for 5 boards, shipping included, and they take about 2 weeks to arrive. When those boards are intact, all 4 rows are connected, but those boards can also be cut with a rotary tool if you want. Let me explain. Every Chinese fab house that does small runs for hobbyists will give you a very good deal on the minimum quantity order if you manage to make your board under 100 by 100 mm. That's the magic number for every company that matters, so that's my go-to size to start any design. If your board only needs 20 by 80 for a small run, you still pay the same price as 100 by 100. And if you hate spending money as much as I do and don't mind having to cut it out yourself, you can make the Fab's good deal even better if you simply copy-paste your design a few times to fill up the allowable space. But FR4 fiberglass is the nastiest shit that will possibly get in your lungs, and cut-off wheels can fly out into your eyes, so never cut it without good protection and good ventilation. Or just snort the magic PCB dust, whatever, I'm not your mom, make your own stupid decisions, kid. Best to also use a heavy-duty cut-off wheel. The cheap stuff will break immediately. Next, I have to put the components on it. To make sure the shrouded IDC headers are properly aligned, I use a bit of modeling putty I stole from an undeserving little sprod. I solder only one pin, check it's aligned, then take care of the rest. If you build these busboards, please never use standard pin headers. Never cheap out on shrouded headers. They are keyed to make it physically impossible to plug in the cable wrong. Having a keyed shroud is barely an expense. You can get 10 of those shrouded headers for €1. But if you plug in things wrong, you risk blowing up thousands of euros worth of stuff. Always budget for shrouds in the bill of materials, but also in terms of physical space on your builds. While the box is made of cardboard, it's still solid enough you can drill through it cleanly, so that's how I fasten the busboards. After that, I make some lateral holes for the rails. I add some blank panels to the rails to make sure they are sufficiently straight, otherwise they wouldn't be. And to make sure they will stay straight, I supplement the lateral screws with the favorite tool of every DIY artist, the hot glue gun. Better slather a generous helping of glue all over the damn place. I have added busboards, but I still need a power supply for this thing. Making a DIY power supply for synths is a big pain in the chili kodama really, because they use at least 2 power rails. plus 12 volts and minus 12 volts. But little wall warts you can find everywhere will only provide positive voltage. So what's the solution? Well, you didn't hear it from me, and if anyone asks, you say you heard it from Juanito, but you can wire two wall warts together to make one provide the negative power rail. It's a terrible and bad idea that you're absolutely not allowed to do. That's super unsafe according to the prophecy. And I was like, can I get away with this? Can I? Yeah, sure, I guess, probably, so let's roll and roll, gamers. I'm gonna use those cheapo no-name things. Each can deliver 1 ampere max, which should be just enough for a tiny synth. First, I need to prepare 2 little sockets the proper size. I'm using strip board. In theory, a single trace should be able to carry 2 or 3 amperes without heating up too much, and even more if you add some solder along the entire track. But I'll still want to monitor the temperatures in practice because I cannot trust this cheap junk. Now I connect the wall warts to my strip board, plug them in outdoors, away from my face, and the levels of smoke emissions seem within acceptable tolerances. A quick reading of the voltages, they're good, then it's time for an avant-garde mammoplasty. I glue the strip board with the copper down and add a good amount of glue where the wires make contact so it's impossible to short-circuit it with a stray patch cable. Then I connect the wires to the screw terminals on the 2 busboards. Another continuity check because short circuits are a very bad deal, and it's finally time to power it on and to plug in an external Eurorack module to it. With the inside of the case complete, it's time to proceed to the most important and holy phase of the project, desecrating the immortal flag of the United States of America. But first, a little story. Because sure, I love my USian chumps, but I like the country less so, and I don't like the big tech companies like YouTube. I hear you shouldn't even swear on YouTube, and bordel de merde! This is some foutaise de ces connards de qu'africains who are trying to suppress my prideful culture pour emmerder le monde. I wanted to stick it to the man, so I tried to make an account on PeerTube. PeerTube is a bit like the Mastodon of YouTube in that random people own small servers that mesh into a single big network called the Fediverse. And it turned out the first PeerTube server I joined had issues with transgender people. Not exactly hate, not that at all, just cheering on a super toxic clique that's really invested in policing which trans people are presentable enough to get to speak and which freaks should be voted out of the island. And freaks like me, we don't play respectability. We don't conceal what we are. We just exist in the world and let you get mad about it. So I just nuked my first PeerTube account. Then I joined a second PeerTube server. Seemed okay, run by someone I saw around who seemed cool. The rules said it's for makers and artists, and that it disallows far-right garbage. You cannot transfer follows from one PeerTube server to another, so people had to subscribe to my channel again. Then, on that second PeerTube, someone had their video deleted for being supportive of Palestine liberation. That's because it's a PeerTube server that is for makers, musicians, artists, DIY folks and the like, and politics do not belong in art. Art is not about when you get angry about bad stuff in the world. Art is about when you make some funny little noises with your funny little synthesizers. So, where's the bitch got a post, right? How can we ever build an alternative to the big Yankee capitalist apps if every server on PeerTube or Mastodon or the whole damn Fediverse network is run by capricious people with trash fire politics who decide that you're talking about genocide is far-right crap? So here we are on YouTube for now, gamers. And I guess I joined a third goddamn PeerTube server. It's called Spectra, and I swear if this one doesn't work out, I'm done with this Fediverse shit show. Just get uBlock Origin and you won't ever see ads on my stuff on YouTube anyway. Look! I might be just a tad bit radical as a hobby, so not everyone likes me, but I swear I'm very nice when you get to know me. And I'm still a very brand-safe influencer, and advertisers should get in touch with my professional email to take their marketing to the next level with my demographic. Going back to the topic at hand, bombs. I love sticker bombing, only kind of bombing I like. I grabbed packs of assorted stolen JPEGs off AliExpress, so let's slap a dozen hearts on this bad girl. And there we go, it's about finished. But there's still one problem to solve, the busboards are left totally exposed. If a patch cable were to touch the busboard, it could cause a short circuit, and that will be very bad. And maybe you're the type who makes music so calmly and so prudently an accident could never happen, but if that's how you are, what are you even doing with your life, buddy? Loosen up a little. In normal Eurorack systems, you solve this problem by having the busboard behind the panels, and you use blank panels to make sure the busboards remain inaccessible in normal operation. But in mine, the busboard is always exposed even if I had blank panels. So my idea was to simply plug the unused sockets, and since it seemed nobody had done that before, I designed my own little caps. Most plastic filaments are excellent insulators, but if you print this item, be careful with filaments that have a metal finish. They might contain a bit of graphite, which is a conductor. Just verify the resistance of your filament with a multimeter if you have any doubt. It should be near infinite. Now that the unused sockets are safe, it's time to decide on which Eurorack modules from my collection to mount in that case. And it's easy, I don't own any. I've always made all my music on the computer. The only real hardware synths I own are those cute little Volcas. I don't have any modular gear I didn't build myself. All the info I needed to build them is out there online, so why would I bother to buy something pre-made when I could design and build it myself instead, right? The one module I showed off a bit earlier was a practice thing I designed using other people's circuits, but I never got it to work right yet, and I made it a bit too spaced out for a suitcase synth. So you see, that's my next goal. I want to fill this suitcase with modules of my own design, even if the core of the circuits will be copied from more experienced folks. And because this case is tiny, they have to be no deeper than 3 centimeters. That means I cannot stack multiple PCBs together, I cannot mount them perpendicular to the panel, and I don't have the clearances to add knobs to the shafts of the potentiometers. It's the inverse of my big spaced out KOSMO. This Eurorack has to be travel-sized, but still usable. To achieve compact single-board designs, I won't be able to use big through-hole components. I will have to use surface mount components. This stuff is half the size a grain of rice at best. You need tweezers to handle them, and a microscope helps. Hopefully I will manage, because if I screw this up, I won't be able to continue making videos. And honestly, I have no clue what I'm doing, so expect me to document a lot of embarrassing messes. I've already received the first PCB that will go into it. It's an audio mixer. And for its panel, I'm gonna use a prototype made with Synth Printer. It's software I created to design 3D printed synth panels. I'll talk about it in detail in a future video. You can go look it up if that sounds useful to you, but it's still alpha software that's not fully documented. I hope once this Eurorack case is full of stuff I've designed, it will be good enough to perform little songs without any external hardware. So that was the first episode. I think I will make more. I think it's time real pro YouTube jokes say shit like defenestrate the subscribe button or some call to action like that. And also, for every like this gets, Ornstein will get a tiny little biscuit, so that's a good parasocial incentive to make my internet points go up, which is a good proxy for my worth as a person under late capitalism. But whatever, you're a grown-up, make your own stupid decisions. Acting like a fake-ass persona and subsuming your soul within the embeddings of the algorithm is cringe. I'm not doing that. See you another time, gamers!